There we go. It says we're live. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Let me scoot this around where I can see what I need to see. There. All righty. Hi there, and welcome to this day in history for April 17th. April 17th is the 107th day of the year in the Gregorian calendar, 108th in leap years, with 258 days remaining to the end of the year. Today's word is vulnerary. Vulnerary is a word that can be used as a noun or an adjective. As a noun, vulnerary means something used for the healing of wounds. As an adjective, it means useful in healing wounds, the healing of wounds. This word comes to us from Latin, which means wound, vulnus, which means wound, and ary, which means relating to. Earliest documented use of the word vulnerary is 1599. I'd like to take a moment to mention that links to my sources are included in the show notes. Ask you to go ahead and click that like button. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section, and good morning there. Good morning. And remember that you can share this video with a link in your email, messaging, or social media. There is a link in the show notes to my Day in History playlist. I will put that up in the iCards once the live is done and we go to replay. And with that, we're going to start with a little tale about a man known as Harold III. He was king of Denmark from 1076 to 1080. Harold was the son of the Danish king Svend II Estridsson. Looks like Harold was the oldest of his father's children, but apparently his parents hadn't gotten married, so he was considered illegitimate and as such would not be in direct line for the throne, so he had to contest for the crown when his father died. He was successful in that, though, and became king of Denmark. I'd say he was a good king, a peaceful ruler. He initiated some important reforms. For example, previous to Harold's rule, customs known as trial by combat or trial by ordeal were common. Now, trial by combat is fairly self-explanatory. People have a difference. They fight it out and the victor wins. The person who wins is the winner. But trial by ordeal, it was an ordeal. And I'm not going to trouble you with the details of what I read about trial by ordeal, but I will say that I don't know how anyone could prove their innocence by going through that. It was pretty awful. So the good news is that Harold did away with these barbaric practices and instituted a trial system more like that of the English, where one could call upon honorable men to swear an oath on behalf of the parties in a trial. Harold had several brothers, of course, who also wanted to be king. Everybody does. And Harold did have to contest for the crown when his father died, but he did become king. He got honorable men to swear on his behalf, is kind of how that happened. Interestingly, Harold only ruled for actually just less than 4 years. And on April 17th in the year 1080, Harold III of Denmark died. He was only 39 or 40 years old, and try as I might, I could not find how he died, what took him. I couldn't find that, what he died from. But he was succeeded as king by his brother Canute IV, half-brother if you want to be technical about it. And Canute IV has a story of his own, but we won't go into that one right now, maybe another time if it comes up on this day in history. Moving to the next subject, Giovanni da Verrazzano was an Italian explorer from Florence, Italy. He's notable for being the first documented European to explore the North American Atlantic coast. And in today's story, he was working for the King of France. At the time, European explorers really were interested. What they wanted more than anything was to find a route west from Europe to China or the Indies, the Asian markets. And they seemed to be practically obsessed with the idea. And I could see how they would be. They were really trying to reach China from China's east. And of course, what they encountered was the American continents. But they were sure that there was some kind of water passage. They just didn't realize how big these landforms were. They were looking for a water passage that they could take west to the Pacific Ocean and reach China that way. Now, I don't know, did they think this land was an island or what, but the American continents did prove to be much bigger than they thought, not an island. Definitely no waterway to the Pacific Ocean, no alternate route to China. Well, I mean, if you went all the way below South America, which is what Magellan did. Magellan had completed a Magellan's crew, because Magellan lost his life in the Philippines before the tour was ended. He died in 1521, but his crew carried on and returned to Spain in 1522, making that trip all the way around the world. So de Verrazano may have been aware of this, may have been aware that this was a possibility, that you really could get to the East Indies or even China from the east by crossing the Pacific Ocean. So he was certainly on the lookout for that water passage west. And so it is that on April 17th, 1524, Giovanni de Verrazano, working for King Francis I of France, reached New York Harbor. Now, if you're from or familiar, ever been to visit New York City, you may have heard of the Verrazano Narrows Bridge, which connects Staten Island and Brooklyn and is, of course, named after Giovanni de Verrazano, the first documented European explorer in New York Harbor and the Hudson River, as described on April 17th, 1524. Let's see what else we have. Oh, the state of Virginia voted to secede from the United States on April 17th, 1861, becoming the 8th state to join the Confederate States of America. Now, there were, of course, a lot more things that happened on April 17th throughout history, and birthdays too, and I certainly cover some of those in last year's episode. I'll link that in the iCards for you, right up there once the live is finished and we go to replay. Otherwise, that's all I have for you right now. Hope you learned something you didn't know before. I know I sure did. I always do. As always, again, links to my sources are in the show notes, a few other links there also. And I will get that day in history and last year's episode up in the corner for you once the live is finished. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to give it a like. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share this video with others. And thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Now we look for the thank you very much button. And thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.